Hey guys. All right, let's make sure, do we have everybody in? All right, great. Welcome everyone, welcome. Very excited. We have a fun webinar tonight for you guys. I see Judith and Jody and Valerie and Tish, and I see Carol and Leslie, and of course, Rocky. What would I do with a webinar without Rocky? And then we've got Sandy and Donna and Judith, and we're very excited to have you here. We have almost 100 people signed up for this webinar. We're guessing we'll end up with about 35 of you all that show up. I'm going to ask you guys, if you find that we turn off your video, don't be offended, please. We're also muting you, and I'm sorry about that. Hi, Allison Flatley. I apologize for muting you guys, but it helps with bandwidth and it helps us kind of stay on track. But I want you to move your mouse, if you would, please. Go to the bottom of your screen, the green share screen button. Go to the left side of the chat box. Look at these wonderful people. They're already saying hello and where they're from. Jackie from Alabama, Rocky from California, and Nanette from Illinois. This is wonderful. So Virginia, Jody from Virginia, Donna from Houston, Connie's from Virginia, Zoe's from Delaware. I've got people, Judith from Michigan. Thank you guys. I want to make sure you can use your chat box because I want you to use it. Put questions in there. Welcome. You know what I realized? I realized we have done over 100 webinars, and probably for the first 85 of them, I don't introduce myself. It's like, so hello, I'm Sara Kooperman, like who cares? But we've got the wonderful Connie Warasila. Connie has led our meditation certification. She's the co-founder of WATERinMOTION. She's a faculty member at SCW, having taught the group exercise cert, the Aqua cert, etc. She's certified by ACE, AEA, AFAA, Balanced Body, the Brain Center, Yoga Fit, Schwinn, Cycle, Moms in Motion. She also won the Aquatic Exercise Association Fitness Professional of the Year Award. She's been teaching for 30 years, and she looks like she's about 32. So don't you love Zoom? I love Zoom.
Mwah.
I know. And then we've got Karen Weiss. Now, Karen is an expert on CBD, and that's specifically why we brought her in. She defines her career as a retail specialist focusing on brand education. She has joined forces. She's helped to launch what's called Sacred. It's a nationally recognized CBD product line, and I'm really interested in this, and we'll talk about all this stuff, but it's kind of cool. She's sharing her approach on creating unique interactions that allow customers to be educated and specifically focus on recovery. So that's why we invited Karen to join us. And Amber Toole is one of our newer presenters that we've basically fallen in love with. She's got a degree in physical education and health. She's passionate about spreading the truth about health and fitness, and her life goal is to share how self-care through safe and effective exercise, proper nutrition, stress management techniques, recovery and rest, I'm looking for the and drugs, although I don't see it here, can lead to a better life through overall wellness. So I'm sorry, Amber, now you hate me and you'll never come back. But she was one of our favorite presenters at our nutrition summit that we did last month. So we're really pleased to have her with us. And I believe Karen's going to be joining us at our upcoming conferences. And Connie is just a fixture, so we're all blessed to have her here. So what I'd like to first chat about is recovery is the single most important part of a training program and an exercise regime. And by permitting the time body to heal itself in preparation for our next training session, individuals can increase and improve their performance and decrease the risk of potential injury or re-injury. And I know, like, if we do a webinar that's all about butts or all about abs, it's like, yeah, 200, 300 people attend. Recovery is incredibly important. I think everybody on this webinar will agree with this. So Connie, I'm going to start with you. How do I determine if a rest day or an active rest day is better for me or my client?
You really want to determine just how intensely you worked out, and having a really clear mind-body connection and paying attention to your workout, of course, helps. But if you wake up that next day and you're feeling a little stiff and achy, yes, moving and having an active rest day is definitely called for. And getting the joints moving and the liquid moving in your body, creating circulation and moving the lymph system, that's all going to be great to help with your recovery. But if you start moving and it doesn't feel good and you're still fatigued, and after 20 minutes you just aren't in the groove, that might be a real sign to you that you need to lay low today. And it's worth it, totally worth it, to go ahead and give yourself that rest day. Up your hydration, up your nutrition, maybe do some, mental recovery also if it was particularly intense.
And, we were talking before we turned the camera on about sometimes I'll go into my workout and I'm just so tired. Like I'm just so tired. And I go in and I start the workout. And then by the end of it, I feel like $1,000,000. And I said, well, how do I know? There are those classes though, where I'm teaching and I'm like, it's like, I'm at the end and I'm like, I feel no better. And Connie, you gave, I love your recommendation of the 20 minutes where if in those, and it usually happens within those 20 minutes where you start feeling better. And then how would you recommend to other fitness professionals on being able to pull back? You're in the middle of class, you're on the schedule.
Yeah, definitely. Great question. Because if you're in the middle of teaching and you just don't have it in you, you just can't lift your arm one more time. That's the time to bring out your cueing and your coaching. Really get into thinking that, you know what, I am here for my client. How can I help my client more? Be there for your client. It's not really your workout anyway. So find a way that you can serve that client and save your body. Improving your coaching skills will always serve you well.
And Amber, what are your thoughts on how do I determine if it's a rest day or an active rest day? How do I, and how should I address this?
I certainly always encourage my clients to think about what they did for their workout. When you have done a very intense workout, if you've done a HIIT workout, high intensity, if you have done a really heavy weight training day, those are typically workouts that are going to mean that next day, you probably need a full day of rest. And if you're still feeling pretty good, because a lot of times when we're in the middle of a workout or, a workout plan, and we're like, oh, but I could go again, I could go hard again on this second day, that doesn't always serve us well. We need to remember that that recovery is when our muscles are going to build. So you want to put that recovery day in there. If you're feeling super good that next day, then do the active recovery, which might be a little yoga, some stretching, a gentle walk, but I certainly wouldn't do 2 high intensity workouts, bam, bam, back together for sure.
Yeah, that's very wise. And Karen, how do you think like a product like CBD can assist with that rest day?
Yeah, this is where CBD can really be helpful on those rest days and those recovery days, because CBD is known for helping with inflammation and helping to bring down that inflammation to help with that muscle recovery. Also using a tincture or a gel cap will help more that internal recovery as well. And you're also using that for just some more focus if you wanted to take that day as a yoga day, or stretching will just give you a little bit more focus.
And we were, again, we were talking just a little bit before we turned the camera on. You were talking about the inflammation and how it assists with targeting inflammation. And I have a son who's got a migrainosis, which is, it's just almost a continuous migraine. It's just at different levels. And he's got connective tissue issues as well. And what the doctor recommended, he goes to a clinic called the Diamond Headache Clinic, which is like the clinic in the world. We tried to get him into Mayo Clinic, and they recommended, for the migrainosis, they recommended the Diamond Headache Clinic. So we were very lucky in that regard. Anyway, long story. They told him to do the CBD drops under his tongue, and which was amazing for him. He had 2 months of no migraines, which was phenomenal. And so I was wondering, how does the under the tongue thing differ from, let's say, a topical cream? Because what's he supposed to do? Rub it on his head, right? Doesn't work that way.
Right. So CBD is can come in all different forms, from your topicals, which would be like balms, lotions, massage oils, and then you have the ingestibles that can be tinctures that are used under the tongue. It's a sublingual way of using it. You can use gel caps, gummy bears. There's CBD water. There's so much different ways of using CBD. When you use it in that sublingual way under the tongue, it's going to enter the bloodstream quicker. And that's where he's going to get that relief, or even just as he may trigger that headache, that CBD may work much quicker with it being under the tongue than a gel cap or a gummy bear.
Yeah, and I was thinking with the gummy bear, I'm like, is that kid getting high? What's he doing? Because he unfortunately, this whole thing started when he was a teenager, and God knows what else he was doing, right? But it doesn't. So
Right.
That's really kind of interesting. So Connie, I'm going to go back to you. Pain and muscle soreness often follow strenuous exercise, but what is going to separate that normal soreness from pain that should be assessed by a medical professional?
Yeah, I'm an expert at this. If you're experiencing sharp pain as opposed to tightness or achiness or delayed onset muscle soreness, then then you might have an injury. I feel like Jeff Foxworthy with "You Might Be a Redneck," but it's like, if it wakes you up at night, it might be an injury. If you have any redness or swelling, it might be an injury. If the pain doesn't go away with gentle movement and it persists or it returns, you might have an injury. If there's weakness in the muscle that you can't overcome over a short period of time, that might be an injury. If you have reduced range of motion and you can't work through the normal motion that you've been used to in the past, and you've tried to recover, let's say 3-4 days, might be an injury. If you can't do like your normal day-to-day activities that you've always done, or it really affects fitness performance, that's a flag, and that might be an injury.
And how are some of the things, I know I'm jumping a little bit ahead here, but what are some of the things that can encourage us to, if it is normal soreness and we just want to accelerate our recovery? I know that we talked about CBD a little bit, but I'm always very focused on hydration, eating well, making sure I get my sleep. But if I'm working out so much, sometimes my sleep gets interrupted. So what are some of the things you might recommend?
You can always add some supplements to your water. It might be all natural, like tart cherry juice, all natural Himalayan salt, electrolytes. There's a product by, I think it's called NUUM, and it's a no sugar electrolyte replacement. So if you're working out, like especially cardiovascularly, over an hour in the heat in the summer, that would definitely be a time to use a supplement like that. I don't do a lot of pills, supplement type things. I definitely rely more on nutrition. But I know before we were talking, and Amber was talking about magnesium, and I definitely believe in that. I take that every single day.
Oh, that's great. Amber, can you elaborate a little bit when you made that comment about the magnesium and, you know, your body changing at certain ages, things like that?
Yes. So I am also one to not really push a bunch of supplements on myself or other people, but there are some things that do help us, especially with that soreness. Magnesium is one of the things that can help your muscles and help you to decrease that inflammation in your body. The other thing that it's great for, I know that when you become perimenopausal or menopausal, magnesium is one of the things that begins to get lowered in our body. And so having that supplement to keep that up a lot of times not only helps with your muscle soreness, it can also help with sleep, which we know is important for our recovery, right? And also a little tip, especially for my ladies, sometimes that decrease in magnesium that comes with the change of our hormones also causes an increase in a desire for sweets, and sometimes specifically chocolate. So getting that magnesium level back up to normal can a lot of times eliminate those crazy cravings that we get. So magnesium is a wonderful supplement to look at adding to, you know, your recovery routine.
And, you know, that I'm kind of saddened at that. You know, I don't want to lose my chocolate craving. I'm excited, but I'm depressed by the whole thing. But the other thing, I know I keep bringing up this headache thing. When my son's headaches were so bad, I never realized they gave him magnesium. And I don't think he's going through perimenopause. I just think it assists with sleep. And I don't think we realize or take advantage of how important sleep is, because sleep, during our sleep, that's one of the only times our brain can also be replenished. And I know, Connie, we don't have a question here on our mental recovery, but I know that's one of the things you love.
I really, I do, because I have experienced burnout in the past, and I really have worked hard to put some strategies in place to avoid that for future. So I did a little research, and mentally, if you know you've overdone it a little bit, the first thing you have to do is admit there's a problem. So it's okay for you to say, you know what, I'm tired. You know what, I am a little bit more in pain today. It's okay to say that and allow yourself to feel that, even if it's frustration or sadness. Acknowledge it, and it's okay. We're all human. So that's the first thing, just really acknowledging that can happen to all of us, but also then making sure that on the flip side, be really grateful for what you can do. You know, maybe I'm not going to be able to run 20 miles a week anymore. That is never going to happen again in my life. But what can I do? I can swim forever. I can do lots of stuff with my upper body. I'm really flexible in yoga with my upper body. So I'm really grateful for the skills I can do. So make sure that even though you allow yourself the sadness, maybe you've had an injury, there's the other side to that coin is to be grateful for what you are capable of in any given moment. Let's see, was there another one?
And that's great, Connie, while you're looking up. That's great, because we have to coach these people. All right. I don't want my personal training client to say, well, I can't do the usual, I'm canceling for tomorrow. I don't want a cancellation. And if we can say to them, you know, all right, I get it. Your legs are really, really sore today, but we're going to work on our backs, and we're going to work on chest and core. And that's going to be our focus. I'll see you tomorrow. But because it helps not only our income, you know, our finances, but it really does help our clients. And I like that approach towards the mental. Did you want to add on?
I do have just a couple more. So also sometimes if you know you need to give your body something extra to overcome an injury, make that rehab your new sport. So for me and my knee issues, I really had to up my butt game. I had to do glute exercises all the time. So I just made it my new big goal. No, I'm not going to do miles on the road, but I can do lots of great glute work. And I've made that my new focus. So I have a new love. You're also allowed to love something new. So when I gave up running, I had to fall in love with something new. And it's not just cross training. Cross training is great, and that can help us not get injured. But if you're really addicted to, let's say, that rush, that endorphin rush from running, and there is no other great thing, you got to find a new love. So for me, that was cycle. And I can get that same intensity and that same rush, but I'm not getting the impact from the running. Whoops. Maybe that's a sign that I'm done with that topic. There was the only other thing was the last one is even when we do, need that recovery day, we have to admit we're not superwoman. Maybe we do have a little injury. We need to remind ourselves that we are not the exercise. That's not our personal identity. It's something we do, but it's not our complete identity. So again, staying really healthy in our mind is going to help us overcome these little bumps in the road and be really comfortable allowing ourselves that recovery day, which I think is just ultimately important, so important.
Yes, I completely agree. And I also can relate to the having to give up being a runner.
Yeah.
It's like, people even talk to me and they say, well, how's your running? And I'm like, well, I haven't run in a decade now because I've had 3 knee surgeries. But sometimes what I've done is I've taken my physical therapy exercises from my knee rehab when I did my meniscus several months ago. I've integrated it, believe it or not, into my yoga class. And I'm like, all right, it's time for my physical therapy. You guys are coming along with me, because a lot of times if you're unstable in your knees, or you've got connective tissue issues in the knee joint because it's a hinge joint, and it's not a ball and socket joint like the shoulder or the hip, you shouldn't be getting those rotations. So I've worked on the rotations of my hips to help my knee recover, because then if I can increase that mobility, it'll reduce the strain. And then taking up the walking to replace the running, I don't get that buzz. I don't get that endorphin high like I used to with the running, that sense of freedom. But when I finish a 45-minute walk, as opposed to like a 30 to 35-minute run, I'm still feeling, I still feel that relaxation. It just takes me a little longer to feel it into the walk, whereas I used to feel it like in the first 10, 15 minutes of the run. I'll only feel it at the 20, 30 minute of the walk. And you shift your perspective, but I think the mental focus for that is important. Karen, how would you say that we could integrate that, changing your focus? Like, I know you're the CBD specialist, but what other supplements can we incorporate into the recovery that can help with the sleep, decrease the inflammation? And is there any do this right before you go to bed, or do this as a warm up, or what do you recommend?
Okay, so CBD is so beneficial in many different ways in how you use it. So for recovery, and you kind of think of it as someone who is looking for a more natural, holistic way to heal the body. Instead of using an Advil if you're real sore from a workout, or an icy hot rub on the back of your back or behind your knees. CBD is just a natural way of helping with healing joint pain, recovering from muscle pain, helps with sleep. And when you are going to use it for before bedtime, you would take some, and you can kind of create a little ritual around it. Starting with a little tincture under your tongue will start to relax, relax the body. Let the shoulders drop down and start that, just getting into a relaxed mode. You can also use a little bit of a topical, massaging the neck and shoulders, even on your feet before going to bed. Just really helps to calm the body. Even just using some in your hand and taking a few deep breaths and taking in the aroma of the product can also be very beneficial in bringing a little more calmness to the body before going to sleep. Or even tincture, as I said before, prior to any kind of yoga or meditation, may bring more focus. So it can be used many different ways.
And you bring up also a really good point about the aromatherapy. I know at the conclusion, I have this great yoga instructor, Kristen, love her. And she does this aromatherapy at the end of the yoga class. And it's gotten to almost be like as soon as I smell that, and usually it's lavender, right? It's usually lavender. It triggers that relaxation response. And I'm going to go into Shavasana. And if you can integrate those type of applications where it's like, I don't know, what do you want to say? Pavlov's dog, you just get used to it and it's going to happen. It'll help you rest. And Amber, I know you deal with a lot of clients. What other tools do you bring into play to help them with the recovery? Because I'm sure you're dealing not just with people that are like, gung-ho, let's do a HIIT workout. They need more of a holistic approach to their workout regime.
Well, that's a great question, Sarah. And I want to piggyback a little bit on what Connie was talking about with the mental aspect of the recovery in conjunction with what you asked me with clients. So for the fitness professionals who are on here, when you are dealing with your type A personality people, and I'm sure all of us have those people, you can just visualize that client in your head. And they will come in, their arm could be hanging off and they're like, I'm here, I'm ready to work out, give it to me. And you're like, no, your arm is like hanging off. And they're like, nope, we're going for it. My arm's fine, it'll be fine. It's so important for us to educate our clients on what recovery does for us. Yes, we want them to work out hard and get these great results from the workouts that we're designing for them. However, if they're not taking that time to do those recovery days, to do their at least one full rest day a week, they're not getting the benefits from the exercise that they're doing. They're going to move into overtraining, which is going to increase the chance that they're going to get injured. It's going to increase the risk that they're going to get sick because it's going to lower their immune system defense. And so educating them on why the recovery days are important and why when they come in, I always tell my clients, I want you to tell me how you feel today. That's the first question I ask most of them. If they come in and they're like, Amber, I am so stressed. I haven't been sleeping. I'm super sore from our workout. There's no way I'm going to smash them into the ground in their workout that day. That is a sign to me that they absolutely need some recovery. Whatever it is that I choose to do with them, most of the time it's what they like to do, but throwing in some yoga, having them do some stretching, breath work. We know how important it is to take those deep breaths and get that oxygen flowing to all of our muscles and throughout our body. And even some of the work with the massage gun or the foam roller or the tennis ball, the lacrosse ball, like using a variety of methods and some mobility work is going to serve them so much better than if we don't teach them why that recovery is important. And you have to work really hard on that with your type A people. But if you explain to them, hey, you're going to get way better benefits if you do this recovery work, then you might be able to change their mind on that coming in with their arm hanging off and they're going to do the workout anyway.
Usually with me, it's not my arm hanging off, it's my leg hanging off. Like, it's like,
Yes.
I'm gonna do one more run on the ski slope and I'm gonna do it alone and it's gonna have moguls and it's gonna get ugly. And I know Connie knows that. But I like your approach with the type A person. I tend to be that person, is that I know that I need to do yoga twice a week. And it's almost like it's been assigned to me. And if I see it as something that's been assigned to me, I think I'm going to approach it seriously, because I'm just serious about everything. So I like your advice, Amber. I think that really does help things. So cool downs and warm ups, are these a waste of time or a must for all training and exercise programs? Okay, Connie, take it away.
It's a must. It's a must every time, every single time. You got to do the warm up. You've got to get your body prepared before you hit it hard. You know, you're at the top risk of injury right at the beginning and right at the end of your workout. So you have to prep your body, slowly practice the movement you're going to do before you hit it. Then at the end, we would talk about rituals, going to sleep at night. My ritual is starts at the end of class. And so when I know I've hit that 45-minute mark and I know I'm going to start bringing them down and get them into a flexibility type of routine, some kind of stretching, it's already started. So hopefully I'm teaching my clients, at least in our class settings, that they need to gradually bring their intensity down, lead into this stretching phase that induces this relaxation. Then I remind them to hydrate. I remind them to have a snack. We haven't really talked about that too much. So I'm not a nutritionist, but I am a nutrition workshop junkie. And there have been so many nutritionists at the SCW Fitness conferences that have really made an impact on my thinking. And one of the most deeply ingrained habits that I now know about, that I never knew about, was that if you do like a really high intensity training workout, you want to get all the benefits, the post-workout benefits, the burn of your metabolic system, and take advantage. I don't know about you, but I don't want to have wasted that huge effort in intensity and mess it up by having alcohol. Because as soon as you drink alcohol, it stops the synthesis of protein. And that's what you need for your recovery, especially if you did something really intense for your muscles. So I'm not saying give up everything, but if you're really serious about getting all the benefits from your workout, you need to consider what you're doing in your recovery. And if you could go that first 24 hours without using alcohol, then you're going to get more of the metabolic benefits, including the synthesis of protein for your muscles to repair, things like that. So yes, cool down, yes, but use that as a ritual into a routine. That just becomes habit.
There's a wonderful presenter of ours. His name is Alex Bryce, and he is actually getting his PhD in physical therapy right now. He's in school. He's already got his master's, and he was talking about, I asked him about when can I, should I be eating protein right after my workout? What is the rule? Is it 30 minutes after my workout? And he said, no, Sarah, it's really like 24 hours. But if you need that reminder that you think, well, now's a good time for my protein shake, or now's a good time for, whatever protein. It can be a vegetable protein, it can be whey, you can enjoy some chicken breasts. It's whatever you need to help your body rebuild. And I thought that was fascinating, because you're right, Connie, that is part of our recovery. Our recovery is, it is what we eat and what we ingest. And I do think a beer on a very hot day, I read that somewhere. Okay. I read that. No, it doesn't really work that way. But Amber, what are you thinking about, recommending, we don't want to overextend ourselves. I'm a lawyer by education, so I know I'm not going to start giving nutrition advice and saying, you need to eat this and that. But if you say to your client, I'm a fitness professional and I've been certified in nutrition coaching. SCW does a wonderful nutrition coaching certification with Melissa Lane. And as a fitness professional, this is something I would recommend that you might consider. If we phrase it that way, I know you're an expert at doing this. I think it's very helpful. What are some of the things that you might guide your clients gently into doing?
Well, I love what Connie said about the alcohol, and I want to give y'all a little thought on that. When you are dealing with clients, think about what we're trying to do with our recovery. We're trying to lower inflammation, correct? So if you're drinking alcohol, you're going to raise your inflammation. If you're eating crap food, you're going to raise the inflammation in your body. If you're eating a bunch of sugar, inflammation is going to go through the roof. So encouraging them to just think about, and I mean, real world, I always tell my clients, I know you're never going to stop eating ice cream. You're not going to stop having a glass of wine, but I want you to think in terms of, how am I fueling my body? Just like Connie said, or maybe it was you, Sarah, that you did all of that work. Do you really want to, just completely halt the benefits? So if we're looking at supporting our body, of course, we know that a whole food diet is going to be better, but giving them some suggestions of things that they can have after they work out to help keep that inflammation down. That's a wonderful thing. It's very simple. Vegetables, some fruits and vegetables, definitely some lean protein from somewhere. Those are just easy things to help them understand and steer them away from the fast food, the packaged junky food, the alcohol, the sugar. That's very simple. And I don't feel that you're stepping over the line by just giving some examples. You're not telling them, well, you're going to eat 4 ounces of chicken breast and a cup of broccoli, and you're not going to have anything but water to drink, and that's it. And then you're going to go to bed. That's very different than just saying, hey, some fruits and vegetables tonight will be great. Make sure you have a little lean protein, which is chicken, turkey, fish.
Yeah. And one thing that I did enjoy is that I also, was lucky enough to run a webinar on nutrition. So I thought that was fascinating. And it's just keeping those healthy foods right there. And I find, I'm not a great cook. I learned how to cook during the pandemic. And I don't do it as often as I would like, but I'm enjoying it. Anyway, I try to keep hard-boiled eggs around and fresh fruit. Like right before we got on for the webinar, you guys were looking at me and I'm chomping on a fruit. I'm chomping, what was I eating? A peach. It's peach season. Fabulous. But keeping the healthy alternatives around. And Karen, I'm gonna bug you again and ask you, are there any times of the day that you recommend if we were going to ingest the CBD? Like, do we do it in the morning? Do we do it at night? Do we do it after our workout, or how long after our workout? What are some of the recommendations?
Well, so with CBD, you can use it multiple times during the day. You're ultimately looking for a full body balance. So if you, again, talking about prior to a workout, you may want to try some CBD for focus, or some topical to help with warming up the muscles. You can then use it again for muscle recovery by applying a little bit more topical, or in the joints or wherever you may feel some pain. If you're having a very stressful day and you're finding that your shoulders are up as wearing in your ears, CBD, just taking a few drops and microdosing with a tincture is great for just taking down a little bit of that stress. And then again, before going to bed, some days you may use it multiple times, some days you may not need it. It's finding the balance. It's about finding your life balance. And that's where CBD can come in that holistic way of incorporating in the healthy lifestyle.
Sorry, I muted because the dog walked in. Yeah, really. I'm in my den. All right. But I noticed a lot of shifting during the pandemic. I think people became much more aware of how they felt about things. It slowed life down. We couldn't travel. We couldn't race around. We couldn't take a train or drive somewhere or fly anywhere or even go to the office or come home. And that also gave us extra time in our day to focus on things that were important. So I think, I've been reading a lot more about recovery. I'm going to throw this out there. It's not in one of our topics here, but you kind of brought it to my attention, Karen, is the integration of like a CBD or a lotion or some type of aromatherapy. But what about the creams? What about how do the aromatherapy and the creams help us with, let's say, massage? Does massage help us with recovery? Connie, you're nodding. Or Karen, go ahead, please.
Yeah, definitely. Massage is really important, whether you're using a balm or a lotion or a massage oil, just really getting it in with a foam roller or one of the hand massagers just really helps with the CBD reaching to the receptors and helping with the relief of pain or muscle recovery, any tension. So yeah, I think it's very important to incorporate some massage with some product after working out.
And that's great. And Connie, you brought up earlier, you were talking about foam rolling and using tennis balls and all the different pieces of equipment, or maybe that was you, Amber.
Amber, definitely.
Yeah, Amber. And do you find for those, like, AAA personalities, whatever AA, that incorporating those pieces of equipment actually will make them slow down, try to master the usage of the equipment, and they'll get that benefit?
At times, yes. Sometimes, people don't always love the foam roller, but encouraging them to do little things that don't hurt quite as badly and then showing them how they can progress, that's always a good thing. And one of the little tricks I have is we have a massage gun at my studio. And so, sometimes I'll use that on people and just have them breathe. And a lot of times your type A people don't realize how tight they are. And then when you start to do that with them, they realize oh, wow, this actually feels good. Yes. And this is something you could be doing every day to help your recovery. So I certainly do like to use those types of equipment. I always also have in my back pocket, I encourage physical therapy. We've got a great physical therapist here who does some dry needling and A-stem. Those are wonderful recovery methods and sometimes really good for those type A people who, if you're like, all right, listen, this is, you've been dealing with this for a while, please go try to get this done and see if that doesn't make you feel better. Once they start to realize they're feeling better, it's a little bit easier to sell them on the idea that they need to be doing that recovery and then educating how it's going to increase their benefits.
Yeah, and I love the way the new things that are coming out, like the cryotherapy. And I think, Connie, you were the one who brought up that ice baths, that you love them in the summer, but you hate it in the winter. I cannot believe that we are almost out of time. I'm going to take the screen here, guys, and I'm just going to share with you, like I usually do, one of our wonderful videos. This is our Active Aging Summit video. Love it. And now I'm going to show you something I'm so excited about.
Wake up to the world you've been missing. Time to jump out of bed in the morning. No day, no life, now we're living. Can you feel it in the air that you're breathing? Time to show 'em what you're made of. Let's get back on track. Are you ready for a come on? Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Are you ready now? You're lifting off the ground. Welcome back. No coming down. Can you feel it all around? Are you ready now? You're lifting off the ground. Welcome back. No coming down. Can you feel it all around? Welcome back. Are you ready now? You're lifting off the ground. Welcome back. No coming down. Can you feel it all around? Welcome back. Are you ready now? You're lifting off the ground. Welcome back. No coming down. Can you feel it all around? Are you ready now? You're lifting off the ground. Welcome back. No coming down. Can you feel it all around?
Welcome back. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to go to a live event and like smell people. That's like, I'm like without a mask. That's what I'm excited about. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I want to thank Mike DeVello, who was so kind and so efficient with the chat box, kept all the information coming. Thank you. We're going to be making sure that this recording is available tomorrow, and we'll put the links in to the CBD and to Amber's site, to Connie's links. And this is great. Thank you all for joining us. I want you to have a great night. Get a good night's rest. Okay. Recover. Don't have a beer. Okay. Bye.
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 Thank